No diplomatic answers, no misleading you, only one clear winner. Watch this video until the end to find out. The OnePlus Nord and the Moto G 5G are two of the most formidable mid-range smartphones that you can purchase right now. They also happen to be 5G ready, so they are future-proof as well. Now, these phones don't compete directly against one another since the Moto G comes at a price of about 21,000, with which you get the Snapdragon 750G chipset coupled with 6 GB of RAM. On the other hand, the OnePlus Nord comes in three different variants and its price starts at about 25,000 rupees, with which you get the Snapdragon 765G chipset at the helm. So if you're on the lookout for a mid-range smartphone that offers a good camera, good display, good performance, and also happens to be 5G ready as well, which one should you choose? Should you get the Moto G 5G or should you pay a little extra and get the OnePlus Nord? Hello everyone, my name is Aman Rashid and you're watching Mr. Phone. In this video, I'll be putting the Moto G 5G against the OnePlus Nord so that you can decide which one is worth your money. Also, I've added the timestamps in the description below just in case if you need. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the Mr. Phone YouTube channel if you haven't yet, and do hit that bell icon so that you're notified whenever a brand new video drops. With that said, let's get started. Starting off with the design and build, and both the phones sport a plastic frame, but it's the Nord that comes with a Corning Gorilla Glass 5 protected rear panel in comparison to the plastic rear panel found on the Moto G. Now, irrespective of the plastic frames, both these phones do feel solid in the hand. Buttons on both the devices are clicky and responsive just the way I like it. The Nord also takes an extra point for the alert slider on its right. The Moto G, on the other hand, has a dedicated Google Assistant button on the left. The hybrid slots are found right above. At the bottom, both the phones have a single speaker, a primary microphone, and a USB Type-C port. The dual nano SIM slots are found here on the Nord. By the way, the Moto G also comes with a 3.5mm headphone jack that's not there on the OnePlus Nord. At last, both the phones have their earpiece and a secondary microphone up top. As for the rear panels, you can find a quad camera setup along with a couple of OnePlus branding on the Nord's back. On the Moto G, you get a triple camera setup along with the iconic Motorola Wing logo, which is embedded in the phone's fingerprint sensor. Speaking of which, there's an optical in-display fingerprint sensor found on the OnePlus Nord, which is extremely fast and accurate, I must say. But it is the physical fingerprint sensor found on the Moto G's back that is equally fast and accurate. Plus, in this case, you can actually unlock the phone without even looking at it. The OnePlus Nord measures 8.2mm thick and weighs 184 grams. On the other hand, the Moto G measures about 9.9mm in thickness and weighs about 212 grams, which is quite hefty. I guess it's a no-brainer that in between these two smartphones, the OnePlus Nord does seem to be a better choice, and while me and you can have different opinions on the design, the fact can't be denied that the glass back on this phone makes up for a better in-hand feel. The OnePlus Nord takes this round. The Moto G 5G features a 6.7-inch Full HD Plus IPS LCD panel that refreshes at 60Hz and supports HDR10. The OnePlus Nord, on the other hand, features a slightly smaller 6.4-inch Full HD Plus AMOLED panel that can refresh at up to 90Hz and it supports HDR10 Plus. In terms of visual quality, both the displays are exceptionally good in their own rights. However, I would say that it is the OLED panel on the OnePlus Nord which I feel is slightly better when it comes to color reproduction and brightness. Viewing angles are good on both phones. In terms of display features, both the phones come with all the default functionalities such as adaptive brightness, a native dark mode, a setting screen color temperature, etc. Now the OnePlus Nord does have an ambient display feature that shows you the clock, the battery level, notifications icons, etc. whenever you pick up the phone or tap the display in idle mode. However, it is the peak display which is Motorola's take on the ambient display feature, and it never fails to impress me. So how this works is that whenever you pick the device in idle state, the ambient display shows up with the notification icons. Tapping those icons shows you the notification content, and note that this is without even unlocking the phone. Also, if you want to dismiss the notifications, you simply drag and dismiss. In terms of how content looks on both the displays, well, both the panels come with wideband L1 support. This means watching HD content on YouTube or OTT platforms shouldn't be a problem for both the phones. At last, I'd say that while I do really enjoy the peak display feature on the Moto G, I can't ignore the overall better visual quality, colors and brightness offered on the Nord. Now this doesn't mean that the Moto G's display is bad in any form. I mean, I really wish it had better brightness. But as I was saying, in terms of display quality, the Moto G's panel is not bad, but it's just that the OnePlus Nord's panel is simply better. The OnePlus Nord takes this round as well. In terms of software, both phones run their custom skins based on Android 10, which Motorola likes to call MyUX, while OnePlus calls it Oxygen OS. Sadly, no Android 11 yet for both the phones. Now, many people, including me, are fans of Oxygen OS, but after using MyUX on the Moto G 5G, I've come to realize how underrated Motorola's software is. Hear me out. MyUX, in my opinion, is the closest that you can get to the purest form of Android. The software is everything that Google intends you to have, and Motorola only builds upon that. One of the 3 first-party apps offered on MyUX is the Moto app, where you can find all the custom features the software has to offer. You want to personalize how the software looks and feels, you go to the Moto app. You want to learn about the various gestures, you go to the Moto app. You want to fiddle around with audio and media effects, you go to the Moto app. Apart from this, I've already mentioned how good the peak display functionality is. Coming over to Oxygen OS, well, there's nothing much for me to tell here apart from the fact that it is one of the best and functional custom Android skins that you can find today. Coupled with the 90Hz refresh rate panel, and the software flies on the OnePlus Nord. Oxygen OS feels fast, fluid and lag-free. In general operation or under heavy load, there was hardly a scenario where I felt that things were slowing down. That said, if I have to choose between the two, I think I will go with MyUX on the Moto G. I know the software feels faster on the Nord, partly thanks to the 90Hz refresh rate, but transitions and animations are fast and fluid on the Moto G as well. And I get it that the 60Hz screen on the Moto G just doesn't work in 2021, but I don't know. As per my taste, I really feel that the software on the Moto G is even better than what Google does for its Pixel smartphones. The Moto G takes this round. The OnePlus Nord features the Qualcomm Snapdragon 765 SoC at its core, which is coupled with up to 12GB RAM and up to 256GB of onboard storage. As for the Moto G 5G, the smartphone is powered by the Qualcomm Snapdragon 750G SoC, and you only get the phone in a single variant, that is with 6GB of RAM and 128GB of onboard storage. However, you do get the option to expand the storage to up to 1TB via a microSD card. Apart from this, the OnePlus Nord features a 4115 mAh battery under the hood that comes with Watt Charge 30T fast charging. As for the Moto G, you get a much larger 5000 mAh battery inside this phone that comes with 20W turbo charging support. For perspective, here's a look at some of the benchmark scores of both these phones. While the benchmark scores for both these phones are almost identical, these are just numbers. How is the actual performance? Keep watching. Both the phones, thanks to their optimized software, offer good performance overall. Apps load fast and both the phones were able to handle any task that I threw at them. Do note that I had the 12GB RAM variant of the Nord for this comparison, and that is why doing a multitasking comparison between these phones would not be fair. That said, the Moto G performs pretty well when it comes to multitasking. I mean, for a phone with just 6GB of RAM, I was able to keep about 8 to 9 apps, heavy and light ones included, in the memory at all times. Apart from this, games run superbly on both the phones and I had no problems playing Asphalt 9 Legends and Call of Duty Mobile at the highest graphics settings. Good thing is that even if you do long sessions of gameplay on either of the phones, they don't overheat. As for the audio performance, both the phones have a decent single bottom firing speaker. There's nothing fancy about them and this is how the output sounds like. In terms of haptics, I do prefer the precision offered on the OnePlus Nord. However, when it comes to the vibration intensity while receiving calls and messages, I think that the Moto G is better between the two, since the vibration intensity even at its max level seemed weak on the OnePlus Nord. Lastly, it's the battery performance where the Moto G makes the OnePlus Nord look stupid. Now, don't get me wrong, the OnePlus Nord is a very good phone in terms of battery life, but it's the Moto G that's a real battery champ. By the way, if you want to know how I use my phone in daily routine and the apps that I use the most, you can check out my Galaxy S20 FE review. The card is right above. As for the battery life, I was comfortably able to last a full day using the OnePlus Nord with about 20 to 30% battery left in the tank. Standby times overnight are also average on this phone. Coming to the Moto G, and I will say this again, that this phone is a real battery champ. As per my usage patterns, I was consistently able to last 2 full days on a single charge, and that too, the phone never died on me. On top of that, the standby times on this phone are totally mind-blowing. I mean, overnight I would see a drop of about 2 to 3% only, and this, according to me, is spectacular for an Android smartphone. To conclude, this round was a very close one. Both the phones are amazing and offer a fast and fluid performance, but if I have to choose one of these phones based on performance alone, it has to be the Moto G 5G. I simply can't ignore the long battery life. The Moto G takes this round. Now at this point, both phones are even. The OnePlus Nord has 2 points and the Moto G also has 2 points. So clearly this round decides which phone emerges as the winner of this comparison. Let's go ahead. In terms of specs, the OnePlus Nord features a quad rear camera setup that comprises a 48 megapixel primary camera with an f1.8 aperture. This is coupled with an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera with an f2.3 aperture, a 5 megapixel depth camera with an f2.4 aperture, and a 2 megapixel macro camera with an f2.4 aperture. On the front, you get a dual camera setup that comprises a 32 megapixel primary camera with f2.5 aperture and a secondary ultra-wide camera with f2.5 aperture. As for the Moto G 5G, there's a triple rear camera system that comprises a 48 megapixel main camera with an f1.7 aperture. This is coupled with an 8 megapixel ultra-wide camera with an f2.2 aperture and a 2 megapixel macro camera with an f2.4 aperture. On the front, there's a 16 megapixel camera with an f2.2 aperture situated in a center aligned punch hole. As for the image quality, photos shot during the day on both the OnePlus Nord and the Moto G 5G turned out very nice. The resulting output from both the cameras was sharp and detailed. However, it is the Nord's camera that's able to churn out a much more vibrant image. In comparison, the images taken from the Motorola tend to have a warmer color temperature. In terms of color science as well, it is the photos taken from the Nord that look more consistent across all its lenses. Looking at the same photos taken from the Moto G, you can notice the image taken from the wide angle camera shows a cold color temperature while the primary camera exudes a warm color temperature. By the way, the OnePlus Nord also comes with a telephoto lens that can do 2x optical zoom, and it offers a decent performance in terms of sharpness and detail. Both cameras manage to click good photos in portrait mode with a decent edge detection. However, it is the OnePlus that once again manages to click a much sharper image. On to the low light shots, nothing fancy here in the output as both the cameras offer satisfactory results, but I would point out that the images taken from the Nord are definitely sharper. Now turning on night mode for the same scene, and you'll notice that the OnePlus Nord only improves upon its performance. On the other hand, the Moto G also shows improvements in terms of brightness and detail, but still noise is visible and the white balance is also inaccurate. In terms of selfies, photos taken indoors as well as outdoors turned out brighter, sharper, and comparatively better exposed from the OnePlus Nord. As a matter of fact, I really like how the Nord's selfie camera does a better job at dealing with skin textures. Video recording is done better on the OnePlus Nord, while the footage from the Moto G also looks fairly good. The Nord's footage is definitely better stabilized and is overall much pleasing to look at in terms of colors and detail. My judgment remains the same for night videos as well. Stabilization, colors, details look better on the Nord, all while keeping the noise levels under check. The Motorola's footage, on the other hand, looks just fine in comparison, I would say, although I can't seem to ignore the slight shimmer effect. As for the selfie videos, I took a few samples from both the phones during the day and night, so please take a look at them and let me know in the comments what you guys think about the picture quality and the audio quality. I'm recording the selfie video on the OnePlus Nord, that is on my left, and the Moto G 5G, that is on my right. So the OnePlus Nord can do 4K 30 videos from the front camera, but the Motorola can only do 1080p 30 from the front camera. So these are the highest resolution video recording that I'm doing right now. Tell me, how does the quality look? How's the audio? And how the cameras are performing in terms of stabilization. So I'm shooting the front facing video sample on both the OnePlus Nord, that's on my left, and the Moto G 5G, that's on the right. How does the video quality look? How's the stabilization? How does the audio sound on both the phones? Drop in your thoughts in the comments below. It's decision time, and I guess it's pretty clear by now which phone is the winner. And if you've guessed the OnePlus Nord, then you're absolutely right. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Moto G is not at all a bad phone. Both these phones actually are great for their price points. But if I have to make a pick between the two, then it has to be the OnePlus Nord. I mean, even if it means putting in the extra money over the Moto G, I will any day pick the OnePlus Nord. So there you have it, the winner of this comparison, the OnePlus Nord. And that's all for this video. So if you are planning to purchase a mid-range smartphone and you have narrowed down your choices down to the OnePlus Nord and the Moto G 5G, which phone will it be for you? Will it be the OnePlus Nord or will you pick the Moto G 5G? Please share your thoughts with me in the comments below. Besides, if you enjoyed this video, then a like to this video would be totally awesome, and do share this video with others. As always, thanks for watching, and for all the latest tech content, stay tuned to Mr. Phone. See you in the next one.